Today I'm excited to welcome Peter Harrower.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Um, Peter is an advocate for those with LDs and the author of the books The World Through My Dyslexic Eyes, Battling Learning Disabilities, Depression, and Finding Purpose, and The World Through Bella's Eyes, a pit bull story. Peter, welcome again.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be on.
Oh, yeah. How are you doing these days?
Good. Staying busy, trying to make the most of it with all this craziness going on. Trying to make the most of what time we have being stuck at home.
Can you start off by sharing a little about where you are from and when you were diagnosed with dyslexia?
Yeah. So I was born March 25th, 1990 in a little town, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Now I relocated once I married my wife a little over a year and a half now to a even smaller town, Edders, PA, which is right between York and Harrisburg of the capital. But yeah, I was diagnosed officially when I was 6 years old with learning disability and dyslexia. But yeah, maybe about couple 6 7 months, almost a year before that, teachers started to notice some stuff about me. My parents started to notice some stuff. I was kind of falling behind everyone, struggling with stuff. And then it was a long process, and it took about, I don't know, maybe another 6 months or so till I could officially get tested. And then I got an IEP. That's when they quote unquote labeled me as learning disability with dyslexia then. So, and here I am now.
I have a little side question for you, actually.
Sure.
Are there any Amish where you live?
I was wondering once I mentioned Lancaster and PA if that was going to come up. And if everyone's wondering, I am not Amish. I may look like it right now with my beard, but
I do too,
um,
it's fine.
yeah.
What was it like growing up for you, not being Amish?
Yeah. I mean, growing up, I mean, I couldn't be luckier. I mean, I had two amazing parents. I have three older sisters. I'm the baby of the family, the only boy. So I had a great life. The only downside was my mindset and what I always thought between my ears. I always pictured my life and what issues I have with this dyslexia and all the struggles I had. I kind of, it's like a mental game I'm always playing every day, most of my years going through school, that it almost made my reality worse than it actually is until now that I'm 30, looking back, like, yeah, I had my issues mentally and with myself, not liking myself. I was my worst enemy growing up and toughest critic. But I mean, I couldn't have grown up in a better family over the years.
What got you interested in writing?
Um, a book that I never would have expected I read. So naturally, with dyslexia and learning disabilities, I hated school, hating writing, reading, everything. And I mean, I've now, like Quinn said, I published 2 books. I'm 30 years old, and I still hate reading with a passion. I know it doesn't sound good with me being an author, but
Well, it's almost an oxymoron for a dyslexic.
yeah, exactly. So I've come to accept it now. But I actually read a book about Tupac Shakur. So I'm a big fan of hip hop and rap. And he talked about it was a biography about him. So he talked about his poetry, acting, and he mentioned journaling in his book. And I'm like, here's this big famous rapper. He went to performing arts school in Baltimore. He died at like 25, 26. Like,
Yeah.
we obviously grew up in two completely different sides of the world. But then he had this whole other side to him that not many people knew. So he talked about journaling, and that's kind of how I fell into it. I started journaling, and one of the perks I always say with my dyslexia is, I mean, I know it's a little different with everyone, but I always saw things differently. I kind of used that and went about life differently than most. So from there, I always had a creative mindset. So I just started journaling and writing. And after a couple weeks of journaling, just kind of messing around, I just one day decided, oh, I'm going to write a book. No idea what to do, where to go from there, but just using my creative mindset, my stubbornness that I was blessed with from a young age, I just kind of went from there. And yeah.
What is your second book focus on? Your dog Bella?
Yes, correct. So Bella is a pit bull. My wife adopted Bella and rescued her about a little over 9 years ago now. So unfortunately, she had passed away unexpectedly about 3 weeks ago.
I know how that feels.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean,
Yeah.
unless everyone, if you have a dog or a cat, anyone you obviously know, but she had a definitely interesting life growing up. So quick story is she was used as the bait dog. So in a dog fighting ring, they would leash her up, tie her to something, and they would have the other dogs attack her, but she would never fight back. They did that the first 6 months of her life, and when they were done with her, I guess they realized they didn't need her anymore. So one of the rituals is they hang a dog from a tree, and they left her in the woods in the middle of January. I think it was 2012, I believe. They left her there for 3 days, just hanging there, and it was nothing. And finally, someone called it in to one of the local shelters. A lady came out, cut down Bella, and less than an hour later, my wife came in with her mom and rescued and found Bella. She also had cancer at 5 years old, and yeah, she definitely had a unique life. And
Yeah.
we kind of wrote the book through, what's unique about Bella's book is we wrote it through her eyes. So the similar titles between my book and hers is we have Bella talking about her unique story and trying to shine light on how misunderstood pit bulls are. Not saying everyone's wrong for thinking their own opinion. Obviously, they're allowed and entitled to their own opinion, but letting them know that it's not always the dog that's bad. Sometimes it's the owners, and just trying to share a good and positive story with what my wife has done with Bella and us over the years.
What is your advice for young people who may want to write a book, but believe that they can't?
I think it's very simple, is just do it. I mean, I know like Nike says it, just do it. That was my mindset. I always thought, again, like I was talking about earlier with you about journaling, like I thought journaling, like this is stupid. This is something a middle school girl does. Like I'm 21, 22 at the time. Like, I have no reason to be doing this. But in the back of my mind, even at 6 years old, when I was officially diagnosed with dyslexia, I always pictured I was meant to do something special. I was gonna, in the back of my mind, I never thought I could be successful, but part of me was hoping and praying that, well, maybe there is a chance I could do something special. So, I mean, nowadays there's more than enough ways that can help you publish a book. Just like 9 years ago when I first started writing, I didn't know what I was doing, but I just wrote. I wanted to write something that I think people would want to enjoy. That's how you need to, that's the kind of mindset you need to keep in the back of your mind, not something that you think is going to make you money, make you successful, or hit this list, New York Times bestseller, none of that. Like I could care less about that. Do I want to write and speak full time? Yeah, I mean, of course. But more importantly than that is I believe with me going through my unique journey to help get me to this point of where I am in my life now, is writing that story is one of the, I mean, it's by far the greatest achievement I've ever done. I mean, obviously close is marrying my wife, because one of the side effects is I never thought I would get married. So, I mean, realistically, you never know what you're capable of doing and going through until you actually get to that moment and you get through that struggle. So like the front of my book, um, right here, I don't know if you can see it. So you can see it's obviously dark all the way around, and there's little light trees at the end of the tunnel. So most of my life and most of going through my 20s, I always was hoping and praying to see light at the end of the tunnel. When I graduated high school, thinking, oh, life is going to be easy now. Like I'm done with school. My first big goal in my life was to graduate high school, and then I'm done. Not knowing and realizing life is only beginning right then. But now, finally, at 30 years old, probably 2, 3 years ago, I can finally say I feel like I'm on the right track to what my God-given purpose is and what I'm meant to do with trying to help and inspire kids and share my crazy, unique story that I've gone through to get me to this point.
Yeah, my mom always used to use the light at the end of the tunnel metaphor with me as well, so I can relate to that. But are you gonna write another book, or what's next for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've already written probably my next book I'm trying to work on is my fiction series. So that was the first book I started at 21. So again, like I said, I'm 30 now. So I've been working on it on and off for about 9 years. Trying to, I mean, fiction is a whole different ballgame, like I said, about nonfiction books. But yeah, I've already written the first 2 books in that series. Now I'm trying to really make the first one really good, fix all the issues that I was struggling with over the years as far as fine details with everything with my editor. So I'm hoping to try and get that done by the end of the year. If not, maybe beginning of next year.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us today. And you can find more about Peter at Peter Harrower.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.